Welcome back. I'm joined in the studio now by Andrew Greenhalgh, Head of Marketing at Surrey Satellite Technology Limited. Andrew's been instrumental in sharing the story of one of the world's leading satellite manufacturers based here at the park. Andrew, welcome. I wonder if we could start by helping us all to understand a little bit more about SSTL's activities. So I was thinking, if we just imagine for a moment that we're looking up at a clear night sky, where exactly might we find your satellites and what kind of roles are they performing?
They're everywhere in space. I mean, they're in low Earth orbit. We've launched 74 satellites since we started back in the 1980s. The first satellite was 1981, UOSat-1. Since then, we've done another 73, of which the 74th was last year for UK Space Command. The vast majority of those are in low Earth orbit, which means they're about 500 or 600 kilometers above the Earth, and they're going around the world at about 17,000 kilometers a second. You can, theoretically, they come across over us every day and a half, something like that. You might be able to see some of the bigger ones that are in low Earth orbit. You can certainly see this International Space Station if you catch it on the right time, but you probably won't see some of our smaller satellites. They're about the size of a dishwasher, domestic washing machine, and 1 meter cubed, 150 kilos, moving very fast.
Oh, fantastic, very exciting. And SSTL is a global leader in microsatellites, often doing space very differently. But what specific advantages do these smaller and more agile satellites offer over larger traditional ones? And crucially, how are they driving new applications and business opportunities today?
Well, our founder, Sir Martin Sweeting, tells a great story. He was explaining to me last week, we were celebrating our 40th birthday as SSTL last week, same as the Research Park is doing its 40th this week. But he was telling me that actually he started back 10 years before that, maybe 50 years ago, in the University of Surrey with a small team of academics and technicians who thought that this idea that big satellites, expensive satellites was the way forward was completely incorrect, and that by using commercial off-the-shelf components, they could manufacture a small satellite about the size of a dishwasher that could go into low Earth orbit and do something really interesting. That was our first satellite in 1981. He did the first 2, 3, 4 satellites for the university. Then the SSTL was spun out in 1985. 2009 we were sold to Airbus Group, and since then we've had about 21 different international customers. In the early days, most of our customers were space agencies, countries looking to have an affordable space program, and a small satellite built by Sir Martin Sweeting and the team at Surrey Satellite was the way to do that.
Fantastic. So today is a celebration of our 40th anniversary, and it's your 40th anniversary. But again, if we can just go on a flight of fancy for a moment and just pretend that we're now looking back from 2065, 40 years from now, what do you think will be some of the most transformative space technological developments that we'd all be talking about 40 years from now?
I think it will be satellites going into different orbits. So at the moment we have lots of satellites that are orbiting the Earth. What's going to happen in future? And we're building one of them at the moment. Our Lunar Pathfinder satellite is going to go in and orbit the moon and provide communication links from the moon. I suspect there'll be satellites, small satellites, that will go into deep space, will act as relay links, comms links for landers and rovers and spacecraft that are going to Mars, for example. I also think there'll be a lot more low Earth orbit satellites. They will, I mean, we look at our satellites. Our satellites were the size of a washing machine in 1985. They're the size of a washing machine now in 2025. By 2065, I'd like to think that my successor as Chief Marketing Officer at SSTL is probably showing photographs of similar sized satellites that have lasted, that we've been building for 80 years. It's just that they do different things, more capable, more technology, much more useful for Earth, for people on Earth. I just think there's going to be an increase in that, but with possibly the addition of deep space as well.
Oh, fantastic stuff. There has been now a renewed interest in the moon, and I wonder whether or not you could tell me a little bit about SSTL's involvement in the lunar domain. What types of projects are you actually engaged with, and what do you see as the most significant technological challenges or exciting opportunities for innovation in either getting to the moon or operating around or even being on the moon?
So at the moment we've got 10 satellites in manufacture, and probably the most interesting one is our Lunar Pathfinder satellite. As the name suggests, it's a lunar satellite, it's a Pathfinder, the first of many. What this satellite is going to do is going to go to the moon and orbit the moon and provide communication links for landers and rovers that are on the far side of the moon. If you're on the far side of the moon doing some form of exploration mission, you cannot communicate with Earth unless you have access to a satellite that will periodically come over the moon and take that signal and relay it back down to Earth. So that satellite is in manufacture at the moment. We're going to launch that in the end of next year, around about 12 months from now. It's a European Space Agency funded project. NASA are involved as well because the big challenge is getting there. It's the launcher that's required to get to the moon. So the launcher is a huge rocket. We use, at the moment, to get into low Earth orbit, we use Falcon 9 SpaceX rockets. They're only going 500 kilometers. Imagine going tens of thousands of kilometers to the moon. Much more complicated. So the key is getting into orbit around the moon, and then that satellite will orbit the moon for about 7 years, providing those links to the missions that are on the far side of the moon.
That sounds fantastic and very exciting indeed.